Hello, hello. Welcome to Crystal class. I'm so excited to be here. It is giving me the spinning wheel, so hopefully I am live. While we wait on everyone to join, I always have this brief moment of panic, like, is it Thursday? So while we're waiting on everyone to join, I'm going to smudge us in, which I haven't done in a while, but it feels necessary not to not from y'all, but just in the world in general. And if you guys notice, my daughter did some nail art on me. So she made me a cute little moon and a cute little heart. All right, so let's light this babe. Hi, Bonnie, how are you? I'm just lighting a smudge stick here. I have a friend who just lights it with matches like a boss, and mine never does that. So I'm just gonna smudge us in. And this is just a smudge stick. It's white sage. It's from my garden. And then there are red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet flower petals on it. And I just dried the flower petals. It's nothing too magical. Bonnie says, you are well, and I am well too. I am excited. It's Thursday. I love teaching this class. Hi, Maria. Love teaching this class. It's one of my very favorite things to do. And so I always get super, super excited. And since I'm seeing clients and patients from home now, from my home office instead of an in-person office, it gives me a reason to get dressed, put on makeup, right? Thursday used to be my in-person day almost exclusively. So you guys used to see me in my office. So let's see. Bonnie says, got my first order today. Already drank some tourmaline and quartz water. Beautiful. In honor of the Sacral Chakra, am drinking carnelian and quartz water myself. Very, very good. So I'm assuming y'all can hear me because y'all are responding back. So if that is the case, then I will go ahead and get started. For those who are new, I'm Audrey. I'm a functional and integrative nurse nutritionist and energy medicine practitioner. I am with Gemstone Well. I'm a certified crystal practitioner as well as advanced crystal master. And like I said at the beginning, it is always one of my very favorite things to do is to come teach this class to y'all twice a month. So we have some more exciting things coming down the line for you guys at the Crystal Club. So stay tuned for that. I want to take a moment to welcome any of you that might be new or this might be your first class. I hope that you find what you're looking for in this community. It's a really great group of people. I'm always here for you to ask questions. And then, of course, we have a lot of people with a lot of different knowledge in this group that can also add their input. Today, we're kicking off our second class of the Chakra series. We will be diving deep into the Sacral Chakra. And if you remember on the Root and Earth Star Chakra, I told y'all that it's like I get all red. It's like my least favorite to talk about, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it together, right? So while we're waiting on everyone else to pop in, I'll do my standard housekeeping, right? If you have questions, make sure you pop them in the comments. If I see them, I try to answer them right away without kind of disrupting the content. And if not, I'll get to them at the end of class if we have time. And if nothing else, I'll come back and type responses to you. Also know that there is at least a 30-second delay between what I'm saying and when you hear it. So Facebook gives us a 30-second delay. So if I don't answer right away, that could be the issue. Also, sometimes Facebook gets tired and kicks us off. If that happens, I'll come right back. I'm trying a different connection this time because some people had commented that the picture was a little fuzzy. So hopefully this connection is better for you. I'm sure like a lot of you, there's more people on our internet connection here in our neighborhood, in our grid, if you will. And so sometimes the connection speed isn't ideal. If we get kicked off and I have to come back, then in the replay, Gemstone Well will put it all back together again. Let's see. So let me see what's going on in the comments. I talked about Bonnie. Maria is drinking rose quartz and clear quartz water. Beautiful. That's amazing. I start my day. I don't know if you can see it over there, but there's a little Gemstone Well bottle. That's where I meditate. It's also a rebounder. I like dual purpose things, right? But I have a little Gemstone Well bottle over there with rose quartz and clear quartz. And I drink that first thing in the morning before I do my meditation for a little Gem Elixir boost first thing in the morning. If you've been around for a while, or if you watched the Root and Earth Star Chakra class, you probably heard about the energy routine. So Friday mornings are tune-up day, right? It's part of a self-care routine. I encourage you to find a day where you can spend 15 or 20 minutes to do this too, and just do a full chakra tune-up. There is a class back October 2019 in this group, so you can go check the archives, and it will kind of take you step by step through that. You can use crystals. It just depends on my mood. Generally, I use crystals because it's so fast and easy. You can use energy medicine, shamanic journeying, oils, or some combination of that, sound. But basically, you just check in on each and every chakra, see how it's doing, and show a little bit of energetic love to each of them, and get them all nice and balanced up, right? Again, October 2019 was that video. So as we go through the chakra series, I encourage you to go back and watch that so you can kind of put the two together. Quick review from last time. A chakra, you guys are probably familiar with chakras at this point, but it's one of the body's 3 subtle energy systems. The physical or planetary, emotional or astral, and mental spiritual plane. A subtle energy isn't physical, and that's something that's important to remember, right? We're working with something that is metaphysical here, or beyond or more than physical, is what you can kind of relate that to. So it means that you can't generally access it with your 5 senses, right? You can't see, taste, touch, smell, or hear a chakra, at least not with your standard 5 senses, right? Technology has advanced to the point that they can actually measure the chakras on the body with some electromagnetic measuring tools. So that kind of allows us to see the chakras with our 5 senses, right? And always when I'm trying to explain the difference between subtle energy and physical energy, I like to think of it as clouds and clay, right? So subtle energy is the clouds. It's real, and you might be able to feel it, but you can't like pick it up and move it, right? Like you can't pick up subtle energy and move it. However, you can manipulate it, right? So if you were to swirl your hand in a cloud, it would change. If you've ever played or been to like a science museum, a lot of times they have displays where you can do that. Also, physical energy then is clay, right? So I don't have any clay, but physical energy is it's solid. You can pick it up and move it. Also, remember that the chakra system is a way that subtle energy is organized into gateways, if you will. So it's a way, it's a gateway where our human suit converts subtle energy into physical energy and physical energy into subtle energy. You should also know, I think I said this last time, but there is a chakra system of some sort. It's not called a chakra system in all of them, but there is a chakra system of some sort in every indigenous culture that you can find, that you can research, that you can find historically. There's a book called The Chakras, and the author's last name is Dale, and it's a chakra encyclopedia. That's what it is. It's about yay thick, about 5 inches thick. And it goes through the chakra systems in all the different cultures. So European and Irish and African and Indian and Native American and all the things, right? So if the Sanskrit version of chakras, or the India version of chakras, which is what is generally what you see most places, if that doesn't resonate with you for some reason, then I encourage you to check out some of those other systems and see what might resonate better. I think the Sanskrit version of chakras are so popular because of the appropriation of yoga from the Indian culture to the American culture. Let's see. So the sacral chakra in Sanskrit is Svadhisthana, right? And I'm not going to say that word again. I always butcher the Sanskrit words for the chakras. But you can just call it the sacral chakra. The sacral chakra is all about flow, right? In fact, its element is water. And that's going to kind of be the theme of what we're talking about today. And we're going to learn some really cool techniques, both with energy meridians as well as emotional clearing. Okay. The sacral chakra is about flow. Its element is water, which kind of indirectly correlates with the kidney meridian. A lot of times people don't associate the kidneys with the sacral chakra, but they're actually a part of it because they flow down through the organs of the sacral chakra. And we're going to talk more again about the kidney meridian in just a moment. The sacral chakra houses, like I said, the kidneys as well as all the reproductive organs. It's often thought of as the seat of life. because of its connection to those reproductive organs. The sacral chakra is also connected to the moon. So anytime you're working with new moon or full moon energy, then that's kind of a sacral chakra thing, right? Because it's likened to that, because if you think of the moon pulls the tides are water. The sacral chakra pulls and pushes our emotions in the same way. I'm going to grab a sip of water. Usually I open a window when I light a smudge stick, and I didn't. So it's like very smoky. Probably a sign that there's quite a bit that just needs to be flushed out, right? So the sacral chakra, let me get my little handy dandy dude here, is the lower abdomen, right? Can y'all see that? Make sure it's in the frame. So it's the lower abdomen. It's going to be below the navel, all the way down to the groin, all the way down to the reproductive organs. Okay. So when you have issues in the sacral chakra that show up as physical problems, guess what? They're usually reproductive problems. They're usually urinary problems, menstrual problems, sexual dysfunction problems. Chronic lower back pain is also really common with a sacral chakra issue. That can also be root chakra, depending. Sciatica, joint problems. A lot of people don't think of joints as being a water problem, but there's a synovial fluid in between each one of your joints. And that is why your joints are often related to your sacral chakra. So think rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, those are sacral chakra in their energy, okay? And I could dive really deep into that, but I'll connect that dot for you here in just a minute. Loss of central pleasure, appendicitis, which is often very interesting. And anything that has an itis, I-T-I-S, any itis disease of the bowels, like diverticulitis. So if you think of something like rheumatoid arthritis, that has a root in your intestinal tract, right? So not only is it a sacral chakra function because it is a joint and a joint is water, but it's also a sacral chakra function because the sacral chakra governs that part of the digestive system, which is a root cause for rheumatoid arthritis. Hopefully I didn't lose y'all with all of this. But I like to connect those kind of energetic dots, right? They all kind of play together. And I love it when the modern conventional medicine overlaps with the energy medicine, and especially when it has such a long history. So also interesting to note, carbohydrate addictions have to do with the sacral chakra. And I have a whole thing about whether or not there are actually food addictions. But if someone, I would think of it more as like a sugar craving. If you're someone who has a sweet tooth all the time, that is actually a sacral chakra imbalance. Now, kind of on the emotional, energetic, psychological side, the sacral chakra sustains and initiates bonds between ourselves and other people. So any relationship that you have, be it friend, family, or sexual relationship, that is bonded by the sacral chakra. And so it's part of its job on the emotional plane is to create emotional attachment or a reaction to emotional attachment. And so that's part of the release stuff that we're going to work on. There's cord cuttings and things you can do. And if that's something that y'all want to learn more about, then let me know in the comments. And if we have time, we'll also do cord cutting. But we're going to talk about an emotional release pattern that you can use crystals with for any kind of emotional attachment, be it to a person, any kind of stuck emotion. So symptoms of an overactive chakra, sacral chakra, include rigidity. And that's not just rigidity of beliefs, but rigidity of emotions, rigidity of body, rigidity of belief, basically not being flexible physically or emotionally and vertically belief-wise, right? Frigidity. So it's kind of a weird word, but just being cold to everyone, right? You're not very warm. Self-denial, fear, fear of change, lack of social skills or lack of desire. Those are all sacral chakra for overactive sacral chakras, right? Or underactive sacral chakras. Lack of creativity. And then almost fatigue-like symptoms. So I see particularly a lot in women, and because I see almost exclusively women in my practice, but particularly in women, particularly in women that are 35 and up, fatigue is a really big problem, right? That's almost always a sacral chakra imbalance. Is that the only factor? No, because by the time you have fatigue, then you have to correct that energetic imbalance, but now there's physical imbalance to correct as well. And depending on how long you've been in the Crystal Club, you may have heard that things start in that bioenergetic field, right? They start way out here. So doing things like that Friday morning energy work, self-care on yourself, Friday morning chakra balance, quick 15 minutes, that helps to keep things that are out in your bioenergetic field from coming through that gateway, from manifesting through that chakra gateway, from the metaphysical, from the subtle energy into the physical energy, right? On the flip side, so those were symptoms of an underactive sacral chakra. On the flip side of that, you can have overactive sacral chakra. And those are things like addictions to sex, romance, codependent relationships, shopping addictions, which I feel like with all of the quarantine and things, like I might have a little bit of a shopping problem, probably a sacral chakra imbalance. Again, substances like carbohydrates, wine is specifically mentioned a lot for the sacral chakra. You will also find sacral chakra overbalance, right? Too much sacral chakra in people who are overly emotional, who are irresponsible, and I couldn't think of a good way to put this, but who are invasive towards other people, manipulative, obsessive with their attachments. So you probably know somebody that you could classify or qualify as invasive, right? They just kind of get all up in your business. I have a friend who describes her child as invasive because every time she sits on the couch, she's like glued to her rather than like respecting the boundaries of personal space, right? There's probably a sacral chakra imbalance in both, to be honest. When your second chakra or sacral chakra is balanced beautifully, right? You feel energetic, you feel friendly, vital, you feel sensual, you have the ability to feel satisfied, you feel compassionate, you have a balanced sexual expression, and you have a sense of bonding that isn't to the point of obsessive attachment, if that makes sense, right? Let's see here. Let me check for questions. Hopefully you guys are still hearing me and seeing me. I'm going to be chugging the water today. So if you have a second, put in the comments and let me know, do you feel underactive or overactive? And if that's too much information to share in the group, totally fine. You don't have to say what it is about it, but you could say what that is. Usually I lean towards the underactive side. So I lean towards tired. I lean towards not being flexible in my beliefs. Generally I'm pretty flexible, but I always know I'm leaning towards imbalance. And if I'm like, that's not right. And then I don't really have a good reason why. It's just I'm being rigid, right? And change is hard for a lot of people, especially if you're going through a lot of change. So perhaps right now, many of us can feel like, we have to do things that we're not used to doing. We can't. I just met somebody face to face today and stuck my hand out to shake hands. And I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to do that. Just little things like that can really play into how those chakras are balanced. And one thing that you have to remember with any chakra or all the chakras, they're like balancing your chakras is like staying hydrated. It's not a once and done type thing. I could be all perfectly balanced, step 1 foot out of my treatment room and then be, energetically assaulted, if you will. Maybe it's somebody just, hey, Audrey, I need this, and this, right? And then all of a sudden like, whew, now I'm imbalanced again. So it's kind of like hydration. You have to keep going and going and keep rebalancing, keep refilling your cup, right? Let's see. Bonnie says, actually, for the first time in my life, I believe I feel pretty balanced here. That's awesome. Maria's got a little of both. That happens too. You can be in and out in certain areas. And the way you figure that out is you kind of tally them up. So how many things are in, how many things are out, and that'll just tell you which side you're on, right? How much you need to go. The good thing about doing crystal work is that it just rights the wrong, right? So there are lots of different chakra balancing techniques, and most of them play to spin it this way and spin it that way and do all of these different things. And you really have to get granular about whether or not you're in balance or out of balance. But when you're using a crystal, it just brings you back to that set dominant oscillatory vibration, right? That dominant rate. And it balances the vibration no matter which direction that you've gone. The color for sacral chakra is orange, and I tried to wear orange for y'all today, but I felt like I didn't. It was a lot of orange, so I thought that wouldn't be a good idea on camera. But the sacral chakra is generally orange. When you talk to people who see energy, sometimes they see it as orange, but by and large, they say that it can be a different color on different people. And then, of course, you have people that can see energy, and they say, when it's a different color, it's because there's something going on. Other colors that can sometimes be associated with the sacral chakra are actually blue. And in my mind, I like to try to make connections, and I really feel like that is a connection with that water element. I've also heard people say white. And then, of course, in my mind, I'm like, moon, that's a connection to the moon. There's no data to back that up. That's just my connection. People say orange is the primary color, and sometimes people see white or blue, all of which can mean balanced chakras, okay? The crystal structure for the sacral chakra is the tetrahedron. Let me show that. There's my moon. A little triangle, tetrahedron. And I don't think I mentioned it on the last one. If I didn't, but for root is a cube, by the way. So I just got that one out to show y'all. But tetrahedron is the crystal structure. And what that tells you is that when you're looking for crystals to balance the sacral chakra, as we learned in the class on crystal formations, you can either pick something in the tetrahedral family or go by color. It's way easier to go by color. But sometimes, you're going through and you're like, color, it's just not matching up for you. So we're going to talk about some of those differences too. So we talked about carnelian for root chakra. It goes really, really well with the sacral chakra as well. So here is some carnelian. And this is a really orangey piece of carnelian, right? So carnelian helps to bring back courage, vitality, sexuality, confidence, and actions, right? So carnelian, I've heard people say carnelian brings sexy back. So do that with you will. And I've heard people combining carnelian with goldenrod essential oil to bring sexy back. So up to you. Think about it. I don't have any goldenrod essential oil, or I would have showed it to you, but just something to think about. But carnelian brings back courage, vitality, sexuality, confidence, and your ability to take action, your motivation, inspiration to take action and take those creative steps. Beryl is a really fascinating one. Blue beryl is called aquamarine, and a lot of people don't know that aquamarine beryl actually comes in a whole lot of different shades. And because of the water element of the sacral chakra, you can use either some blue stones or some orange stones or even white stones like moonstone, right? So here would be an example, and it's not a super blue one. My super blue one is in a gem elixir right now, but this is an example of blue beryl, or aquamarine, right? So the blue is cooling for an overactive sacral chakra. Now, there's kind of a spectrum. It's going to be like when I try to hold dominoes or something, but we'll go here. We'll go all the way up to, this is also beryl. It kind of looks like carnelian. If you hold carnelian and beryl, if they're both the same size and you hold them, kind of in each hand, the beryl or aquamarine orange beryl is denser. It's heavier, right? So you can see that these go in quite a color spectrum. These are all the same stone, just different colors. And all of them are appropriate to work with the sacral chakra. So we have all the way over from aquamarine, which is a blue beryl on the blue one, kind of tucked in between my thumb, all the way over to the orange one. All of those work. Let me see. Bonnie says, fascinating. Didn't know there were different forms for each chakra. Yeah, very cool. If you guys want to learn more about that, just let me know. I'm always happy to talk about that. I struggle between like giving you guys enough information so that you are like, wow, and then also not giving you too much information, because I tend to over explain things sometimes or get too granular. And you're like, I don't need to know all that. Just tell me what to do, right? So there's that too. One of my very favorites, and it's it feels like such a happy stone, is orange calcite. And a lot of people think, well, that looks fake. And hopefully it's coming across well on the camera. But it's just got this waxy, it reminds me of orange sliced candy. I don't know. It's just such a happy looking stone. And relatively inexpensive. So a lot of people buy chakra sets, and the standard chakra set is like carnelian and citrine and like a sodalite or an amethyst and then a quartz. But I encourage you, if you are drawn to calcite, to create your own chakra set with calcite. It is so, so powerful. You can find red calcite, orange calcite, yellow calcite. You can go all the way up the chakras. So I encourage you to do that. But orange it helps to boost and balance underactive chakras. This is generally my go-to stone for the sacral chakra. Okay, orange calcite. It's also really good when you pair it with carnelian. So these two together are really, really powerful. This orange calcite has a lot of the similar properties. So creativity, sexuality, it's more playful than carnelian. Innovation, orange calcite all the way. It's also really good for emotional issues, and we'll talk more of that in just a second. Also, I did want to tell you, and if anybody wants to know, I'm not a big nail person, but my kids love to do it. But this color, it's actually crystal infused nail polish. And so I was really surprised by how long it's lasted. It's not still perfect. And those are the nail art my daughter did, but it's not still perfect, but it's lasted really well for kind of like I'm really impressed. It's got black tourmaline in it. So orange calcite, really, really good for balancing the chakra. Here is one that I keep in a glass case because it's a toxic crystal. It's got lead in it. Let me see if I can get it out without breaking it. It is Wulfenite. I don't use this one often in healing. If I do, I set it below a table, or I might use it on the proxy board for a distance session because it does the element is lead, so it's toxic. So you don't want to touch it or handle it or any of those things. It's really cool though. You can hopefully see the natural tetrahedron shape that it grows in, which is always just so fascinating to me. But it's really, really great for creativity manifesting, for determination, for alchemy. And this specimen is from Mexico. I can't get it back in there, so we'll set it aside. Set it aside. So Wulfenite is a little bit hard to find. Again, it's not something you're going to want to handle, but if you're really, really needing to push your creativity, to push those manifesting muscles. So a lot of times when people are talking about manifesting things, you of course have the dreamers that are like, I need to manifest, $1 billion. And then you have the people that are like, they can't get out of their sacral chakra enough to have the creativity to like really put their manifesting muscles to work. Wulfenite all the way, all the way. Let's see. Bonnie says, working with carnelian lately. So I've been working with carnelian for immune system boosting, which a lot of that happens in the sacral chakra. So I really love to work with it. And there's lots of different things. You can even just put, especially if you're working with the sacral chakra, just put some carnelian in your front pocket. Like if you're wearing blue jeans or shorts or a dress, if y'all have a dress with pockets, those are the best thing ever. But you can put it in your pocket and then it's kind of right in the right area and you can just work that all the time. Start with it's a great idea to start it with your morning water. I encourage everyone to drink water first thing when you wake up, just about Gemstone Well's 20-ounce bottles worth. But if you can do it with a crystal infused water and you don't have to sip it, just chug it first thing when you get out of bed. Both having the gem elixir and the water in your body at the same time, it starts your day off in just the right step. It gives your human suit what it needs. The water is structured in a way that it matches what's going on in the cells in your body, and it can just be a game changer for your energy levels for sure. Two more. Another good one is aragonite. So they say aragonite is really all the chakras. I really like it for the sacral chakra. There's a lot of other things I like it for too, but I like it for the sacral chakra. It balances the field, whether you're over or under. It's really great for strength, confidence, particularly if you feel like you've lost that strength or confidence. So it's not necessarily people who've never felt confident, but if you've been like a super confident person and it's gone away for some reason, then aragonite is going to be the stone for you. Also toxic, don't put it directly in your water. This is only for indirect gem elixirs. It's also really good for emotional healing. And then one of the last ones this one is, you probably won't find in a book. I mean, you'll find the crystal in a book, but you won't find it used for this in a book. This is just something that I've developed over years of practice, Lemurian. So I really like Lemurian quartz for the sacral chakra, and it's that water element. So Lemurian stones, Lemurian seeds are even more beneficial, but I don't have any on me. But it's the dolphin stone. They're found in one mine in Brazil, so it's really easy to get people to say they're Lemurian and try to sell them to you for more, and they're not. They're characterized by being what's called a laser. So you see how it's wider at this end and narrower at this end. And then I'm not sure if you can see the striations, but there's horizontal ridges. If I can get the light just right. Horizontal ridges. You can feel them with your hand, but that's really, really important. They're also visible. I just don't know if y'all can see them. But really, really beneficial for the sacral chakra. It's for big sacral chakra work, okay? And I would actually use this manually, like spinning it over the chakra rather than placing it. That helps. All right, let me get all my tools ready. Oh, foods. I think I said that I would tell you about foods for the sacral chakra, because it's always nice to be able to, carry your crystal in your pocket, do your weekly balancing, work on that. But isn't it even cooler, or even more, it's at least more sustainable, it's simpler to just include some of the foods, right? So things like carrots, mango, oranges, sweet potatoes, orange bell peppers, which by the way are just bell peppers that aren't completely ripe, peaches, apricots, sweet potatoes, foods rich in omega-3s, so salmon, sardines, if you can stomach them, also work really well to balance these chakras. So with omega-3 foods, there's lots of plant omega-3 foods, but specifically for the sacral chakra, it's going to be your seafood that's high in omega-3s. There are some seaweeds that are high in omega-3s also. So I mentioned that the kidneys were part of this chakra, right? So there's the kidney meridian, runs up and down your body. It's said to be sort of the life force meridian. It's the one that gives you energy. It's the one that people will massage. I've never experienced this. Don't try this at home. Not all the disclaimers, right? This is not a substitute for medical care or calling 911. However, I've heard of people using the points that I'm about to teach you to help revive somebody while they waited on an ambulance to arrive, somebody who had had some sort of cardiac event or cardiac arrest. As a nurse, do CPR. But while you're waiting on the ambulance, while someone else is doing CPR, if you have two people, try it and see. And I also hope you're never in that position. But food for thought. I've heard more than a handful of people say that this works. Okay. Now that we've got through that disclaimer. But for just your general energy and fatigue problems. So for an underactive sacral chakra, if you're tired, if you hit that 3 p.m. wall and you're like, I need caffeine or sugar or a nap, right? Here's what you do. Find your collarbones, and I, of course, wore a shirt that you can't see my collarbones, but you find your collarbones, run your fingers in, and you can see the notches of your collarbones here, right, where they end. Go just about an inch below that, and you'll feel an indentation or a little nook and cranny, if you will, and then you can just rub it. Maybe it hurts, right? It might hurt, but I worked out this morning, so it could just been all the down dogs in Chaturanga. But you just give them a little rub. You can also tap. And you do that a few times and it'll just wake you up. Now, you can use carnelian and do the same thing and just kind of take it to the next level. You could also use an essential oil. There's blends that boost energy. You could use a citrus essential oil. We'll talk more about that in a minute, to just kind of turn that around for you. Now, if you're on, one more way to boost that. So if you're coordinated enough, You can also help to boost it and sort of reconnect body and mind by crossing your arms, right? So you cross your arms so that your right hand is massaging the left side and the left hand is massaging the right side. And that further helps to right those energies. The second spot, I'm not going to hike my foot up here to show you, but if this was my foot, these are my toes, this is the ball of my foot. The second spot is the wellspring. It's just the opposite end of the kidney meridian. So it's K1 versus these are K27. So K1, and you do the same thing on the bottom of your foot. If I'm feeling like I really need it, I'll actually just stick orange calcite, a sphere under my desk and just roll my foot around on it, which is a really good way to activate both that wellspring point, the K1 point at the bottom of your foot, as well as utilize that crystal energy. Do we have questions? I'm going to take a sip. If y'all have any questions, put them in there, and then we'll get to emotional clearing. I'm also going to put my Lemurian up so it doesn't get knocked on the floor. I would probably cry. All right, I don't see any questions. So the next thing I want to tell you about is emotional clearing. So as I mentioned, the sacral chakra holds a lot of emotional energy. It's just flowing by nature. The idea is that those emotions flow in and flow out and flow out and flow in, kind of like the tide. However, sometimes they get stuck for all kinds of various reasons, and that could be a class in and of itself as to why our bodies hold on to emotions and emotional energy. So when working with the sacral chakra imbalance, very often, if not always, there is an emotional blockage related to that imbalance. Now, it won't be the whole thing. So in other words, clearing the emotion usually doesn't fix all of the imbalance, but it's a big chunk of it. So I'll tell you how that kind of looks clinically when I see it. And this may be too clinical with you, but bear with me. I think it'll help you to understand, help it make sense. So if a person comes in and has a hormone imbalance that's causing sleep loss, right? Not uncommon, happens all the time, frequently with perimenopausal people, for example. Not exclusively, but frequently. Usually the hormone imbalance can be fixed through various modalities, right? Nutrition, micronutrition, energy medicine therapies. We fix the hormone imbalance. Now that is a balanced hormone cascade, but the person's still not sleeping. Even though everything else checks out at that point, there's labs and all these kind of things we've done, everything checks out, still not sleeping. At that point, it's a stuck emotion. So I thought it would be cool to teach you, since we're working through the sacral chakra and its related emotions, how to clear those emotions with crystals. And I'm going to include essential oils too, because they can be really beneficial. Sometimes it's easier to access one or the other. And then of course, super powerful when you combine the two, when you layer those energies. So the first step is to check in and identify the emotion. Now, sometimes depending on your clair abilities, if you're an empath, for example, you might get something right away without the use of a tool. So, you might check in with someone's emotions to find out what's blocking their sacral chakra and you get it right away. I like to use a chart of emotions and a pendulum because although I am an empath, one, it helps me visualize the need better, and two, it's a way for me to know while protecting my own energy, right? Without allowing that. As an empath, if you are an empath, then you know that part of that is often taking on the emotional energy of others. And so when you work with other people, even if you're working with your family, then it's important to figure out a way that works for you, that you can check in with their permission, of course, and not take that emotion on yourself. So we did a whole class on the pendulum and yes or no with the pendy. So I use a pendulum. This is a etheric weaver. I have all sorts of different pendulums. I used to kind of collect them. So I had a client make me this one, the little elephant. So you can use anything as a pendulum. You can use a necklace. This necklace has a crystal on it, but it doesn't have to. I've used a set of car keys. You can use your body, which is often how I do it now. If I don't have a pendulum, I It's almost like a magnet sucks my internal organs in or back. It's a palpable feeling, right? So you check in and identify the emotion, check if it's accurate, ask your pendulum to show you if that emotion is accurate, right? So you can do yes, no, and sometimes it'll spin for needs more information. Sometimes it's a little different for everyone, so go back and visit that class, which I didn't look up before I came to talk to y'all today. But definitely go back and check that class so you can find the steps if you're not already using a pendulum of some sort. Step 2, once the emotion is identified, it's always a good idea to check in and ask if it's optimal to clear it. I've only had it happen once or twice where it wasn't optimal to clear it. And so I do the same thing with the pendulum or with my body as a pendulum and just, is it optimal to clear this emotion? Is this answer true and unbiased? And if I get 2 yeses, we are good to go, right? The third thing to do, now that you have your emotion, is to, I'm a big fan of not memorizing every stone and all the things it can be used for and all of that. So use your tools. Go to the Book of Stones. Identify the emotion in your Book of Stones. There's a nice glossary in the back of emotions, right? Sometimes you might need to identify a synonym of the emotion or the balancing emotion. So, like the emotion of ridicule, the balancing emotion or opposing emotion might be courage. So that might be where you need to look in the Book of Stones. But you identify the stone you need in the Book of Stones. That's one way to do it. The second way to do it is because it's sacral chakra emotions. You just choose a sacral chakra stone. Favorite one, like I said earlier, orange calcite, right? Lemurian's also good for this too. Part of that depends on whether you're working on someone else or you're working on yourself or a combination, right? It's easier to do just plop an orange calcite on your sacral chakra than it is to use the Lemurian. Also a good thing to point out, if you're in a position where you can't put this on your sacral chakra, say you're sitting up at your desk at work, don't forget that there are chakral gates, and that image is in the Facebook group too. There are chakral gates along your neck as well as on the palms of your hands. So that's step 3, find that emotion in the Book of Stones or choose a sacral chakra stone to use for the emotion. Orange calcite, cheap, easy to find, rarely faked, really good go-to for that. Then you're just going to place the stone for a treatment for 15 or 20 minutes. I usually say 15, 20 minutes under the stone is long enough. If you want to check in and see, did I clear this emotion? Is there another emotion to clear? You can do that again. Use caution. You don't want to go through a whole bunch at once. So usually 2 or 3 at once is fine. And then you can come back and do more later. The best way to amp it up is by applying a corresponding essential oil to the sacral chakra. You can diffuse it before, during, after. You can also use it, you can diffuse during the treatment and then make yourself a roller or wear it on your pulse points after to continue that clearing and healing. Inexpensive orange is probably the best one. There's lots, you can get into lots of different oils like ylang ylang, purification. There's lots of different ones that work for the sacral chakra. I like to keep it simple. Orange is a pretty inexpensive and easy go-to for that. It's also, people don't react to it, so you don't have to worry about somebody having a sensitivity reaction very often to something like orange. You do have to worry about sun sensitivity, so don't put it all over your face. And so an example for that might be, you check in, you get the emotion ridicule, like I mentioned earlier, right? The opposing or balancing emotion there is courage, stones for courage, carnelian, orange calcite, right? Either of those would work. And the corresponding essential oil to, this happens to be the corresponding essential oil to both the sacral chakra and the emotion of ridicule and its opposition courage, is orange. And so you put all of those together and use that to clear the emotion. Did you guys want to know about the grounding cord? If y'all will let me know while I explain this last bit, then we can, not the grounding cord, cutting cords, which is another way to detach emotions from everywhere, including not the sacral chakra. But just to review where the chakral gates are on the neck, 7 is right in the middle, right? And then 1, 3, and 5 odd numbers go this way, and then 2, 4, 6 go this way. So your sacral chakra would be about right here, okay? And so that's a good one. And then the diagram for the hand is there as well. So definitely go find that. Let's see. So Bonnie says yes to cord cutting. Awesome. Cord cutting is super duper simple. I recommend if you have contact with other humans that you do a regular cord cutting, just as good energetic hygiene. I don't do it every week. And to be honest, sometimes I wait till like things feel kind of icky and I'm like, dang, I should have been doing cord cuttings, right? So when you come in contact with somebody else's energy field, a lot of times there is an energetic cord. It's part of that we're all one consciousness type theory, but there's an energetic cord that sometimes remains, particularly if you aren't taking good care of your own energy. For example, you can call your energy back to you at night and then release everyone else's energy. And you can do that at night and the morning. Very, very simple. But sometimes you need a cord cutting. And so I like to do my cord cuttings in the form of meditation, whether I'm doing it for someone else or for myself. And so I'll sit down, close my eyes. Sometimes I'll do it when I'm laying down in bed. But close my eyes, take a nice big deep breath. And then in my mind's eye, envision the other person that you feel like there's some sort of negative or could become negative attachment to, right? An energetic cord. I feel like it's helpful to also envision where that cord attaches on your body. You don't have to know where it attaches on their body, but where on your human suit it attaches. I find that's beneficial. And then you have to know when you're doing the cord cutting that you're not cutting ties with the person, you're just cutting that negative energy. So you'll still have all the beautiful positive things. You're not cutting them out of your life or anything like that. So I like to envision a big samurai sword. That's my weapon of choice. Sometimes people use scissors, axes, all kinds of stuff. So I think it's really important when doing this to be granular in your vision, in your mind's eye of the person. So really see them. The cord. So for some people, it's a gold chain. It's a rainbow ribbon. I've heard people say a thick rope, like what you would anchor a big boat with. It can look like anything. There's no wrong answer, just as long as you can see it. And then the third thing to be really careful and visualize it and be particular about is what you're choosing to cut the cord with. It could be your hand. It could be an axe. It could be, like I said, a big shiny samurai sword. Mine's almost comical in nature. Anything that you wish. Giant scissors, like you're doing a grand opening with the Chamber of Commerce type thing. Any of those things will work. So you take a big deep breath and then count down 3, 2, 1 and cut the cord. And then the next step is to envision that person floating off like a balloon. Again, it's just the negative part. It's just whatever's going on with you. And so, like I'll do cord cuttings with my in-laws. They're great people, but they're still my in-laws, right? I'll do cord cutting with my almost 13-year-old daughter. I'll do it with my husband if there just feels like a little tension or friction. I'll do it with the neighbors. So if I'm getting a little testy about something the neighbors are doing, then, I'll do a cord cutting. And it's one of those ways to do energy work. So when you do energy work with other people, it's unethical not to have their consent. But this is something that you can do that is just involving you, right? This is something you can do without getting consent because it's for you, if that makes sense. But it's a really simple procedure. You can do it with as many people as you want, as many times as you want. And really just like clear your energy of all the attachments that happen over the course of just being human and just being around other humans who are doing human things and having your own perspective on what's right and wrong and indifferent and how you've been righted and wronged, right? All right, so that is a cord cutting. Have you guys heard of cord cutting before? Is that something that you guys have done or seen or experienced? It's really fascinating when someone walks you through it individually. So one-on-one, like if you were to have somebody walk you through cutting a cord with someone else, that is really, really fun to do, but it's totally doable. You can do it just yourself, just with yourself. I can see that 4 people are watching us now. So if anyone else is out there, feel free to pop on and say hello. I haven't seen Dina pop in, and usually she comes to hang out with us. So I'll give you guys just a few minutes to ask any questions. Bonnie says, I haven't, but thank you so much. You'll be doing this this evening for sure. It's kind of cool. I'm glad you made me explain it because it's it's just a good reminder. It's, it's something that sometimes you need to be done. And as I'm talking you guys through it, I'm thinking of, well, gosh, I should probably do that with, X, Y, and Z. Maria says you've heard of it. Good. Sometimes I've worked with people and their weapon of choice was a giant crystal wand. So that's also a fun one to do. And helps just to, like I said, protect your energy. So next week, we will be talking about the solar plexus chakra, which is really fun. It's the powerhouse, right? It's the powerhouse for your personal power and the power that you put out in the world and your motivation and all of those sorts of things. So that will be a fun one. And that will be not next week, but the week after. I will post in here if I get to travel. If I get to travel in the next week or two, then I will be sure and share in here, all the crystal shopping that I get done, because that's always the highlight of travel, based on like where the good crystal shops are, where the good crystal wholesalers are. So that'll be super fun. And I'll be sure and share the things that I brought in with me. If any of you guys come up with any questions between now and then, you can post in the group, tag me in it. I'm always here to help. Just let me know what resources you need. So with that, I will bid you all a wonderful rest of your day. And I've been saying this lately because I think it's so important. Try to find one little thing, one little bit of magic where you can leave your world, even if it's just something little, a little bit better than it was when you woke up this morning. So thank you all. Be well.